Kentucky freshman Cason Wallace had a terrific game today over in London against Michigan to help Kentucky pick up a big win. 4 for 4 from 3, had 14 points. We're going to get into the shooting. Played some great defense as usual. But let's start with that defense. He was matched up against Jet Howard for a big portion of this game, and Jet Howard's got 3 or 4 inches on him on the wing. And here you're going to see him come off this wide pin down. He's going to chase Jet, but I think his attachment skills and recovery stuff is really impressive, because at this point when Jet catches the ball, Cason's hips are completely towards the sideline, and theoretically there is a lane for Jet to get to the rim. But I think what Cason's really good at is his lower body is just so strong, and he's so good at playing with his hips and getting the hips into the offensive player and making legal contact. Because here, still his hips are angled toward the sideline, but he gets his hips into the body. And yes, low man wins. What he does though is that he stays attached and gets his hips around with this long stride, is able to cut off Jet. And then because of his long arms, I'm not sure exactly what his wingspan is, but it's certainly a plus wingspan. He's able to contest this floater, even though he's giving up multiple inches to Jet Howard. Like I mentioned, those attachment skills are just really impressive. You see this a lot in the half court with him, where he completely gets his hips turned and just prefers to chase and then get his hips around. But here you see it in the full court, which I think is pretty cool, because what he does is he just gets his hips into the body and makes legal contact. And that little bump there is enough to force Kobe Bufkin into an early pickup, and then just stays attached, stays in the hip pocket, and that you see that length again here on the block. That lower body strength, as I mentioned, is just so impressive. He's so sturdy. Here, Terrence Williams is going to try and drive on him on a switch because Cason is scrambling a bit. Terrence Williams puts the ball on the floor, and he's much bigger than Cason, but Cason is just so sturdy in the lower body where he just takes this bump and is immediately still squared up. Stuff like this is just NBA level strength already, to where he just absorbs this contact and seals off any potential for an advantage for the offense. This is just a clip to show some of the intellect off the ball. What I think is pretty interesting in this clip though is Jet Howard's going to come off a ball screen to Cason's side. Granted, the space isn't like super conducive for him to drive here, but he notices that Cason's right here one pass away. And Cason's so dangerous one pass away because his arms are so long. So when he digs, there's a high potential for him to get that steal. So Jet changes directions, comes off another ball screen from Hunter Dickinson, but Cason tags Hunter Dickinson here on the roll and then gets back to his man. So just like a small defensive rotation that's just perfect from him, which I don't think his off-ball defense is obviously perfect. I think there are some things to clean up. These rotations often take freshmen a little bit to pick up on and are hard for some of them. Like, for example, Chris Livingston, the other Kentucky freshman, is having a hard time with this right now. Knowing defensive rotations, help side, where he's supposed to be on a pick and roll, looks a little lost out there, but that's not Cason. He's far from that. He's very intellectual defensively. I think this possession off the ball is another good example from Cason, where he's going to blow up this dribble handoff that Hunter Dickinson is trying to get to Jet Howard, and he's going to chase over because Jet is such a threat and a versatile shooter and has multiple inches on Cason. And then they're going to try and get him in another DHO, but Cason's going to run him off that again and blow that up. But what's really cool is he mirrors him, almost like a cornerback in football, where he's just chasing like that and able to stay attached. And then his length takes over off the ball, where he's able to get in the passing lane easily and knock this out of bounds. I'll be honest, I have not watched enough of him defending the pick and roll, so I can't speak conclusively here, obviously, and it's just one game, but I thought his screen navigation could have been a little bit better in this game, where this is a good screen by Hunter Dickinson. He is a big screener, but there's certainly a window for Cason to get skinny and get through this a little bit quicker. And this is not really on him, because Jacob Toppin needs to be tagging this roller here, because this gives Hunter Dickinson a free runway to the rim. What I also think is interesting from this, I don't think obviously it's all bad, because Cason is so strong and he's kind of crafty, where he gets away with that little hold there to attempt to slow Hunter Dickinson up, and it does for a second. Cason takes the screen right on the shoulder and dips out of it pretty well because he is so strong. Here again, I'm not totally sure what to make of the screen navigation. This is still an area that I'm trying to learn, and a big reason why I'm making these videos, I've mentioned it a lot recently, is I'm just trying to document where I'm at right now. I am not by any means a professional scout, and far, far, far from understanding the game at a high level. So not totally sure what to make of this screen navigation, where he obviously gets through there's room for him to get up into the body, and that's what you want to do as a guard, is get into the body, get skinny. His lower body and his hips are just so strong that he's able to get that top foot over and feel out that screen. I mentioned at the beginning of the video where in these situations, he likes to just turn his hips completely and run parallel and then get back in front. Here he slides, but then just puts two hands on the body and gets called for a cheap foul. He didn't need to do that. He was in good position, and this is just like a freshman thing that easily gets coached out. This pick and roll possession late in the game against Jet Howard I thought was really interesting, where Jet Howard gives him a hard crossover. Cason ends up going under the screen, but contesting late does enough to affect that shot because of that length. But what I think is interesting is, like, I don't think Cason has like the fastest hips in the world. Magnetic is certainly not the right word, but his hips swivel and do stay pretty mirrored. They're not obviously the fastest ever, like I mentioned. Here Wallace is icing the screen, and Jet does give him a hard cross. And at this point, he can attack the high foot, but Jet does this little hop, and it gives Cason time to get his hips back around, swivel. Going under, against a shooter, a versatile shooter like Jet Howard is going to be hard. Cason can go from here to late contest pretty easily because his arms are so long, but Jet does get a decent look here and is able to shoot over the top. I wonder if you go over here and chase, but when you chase over a screen against a ball handler that already has momentum, it's a hard burden because you have to do a lot to catch up. But nonetheless, he does get his hand in late enough to affect that shot. Offensively, let's get into the shooting. He was great off the catch today. I think his mechanics are really good. I'm no shot doctor by any means, but what you notice here is that his lower body and his upper body in sync. He's going to drift down the line here, lower body in sync with the upper body, and his shot preparation is just really good in these clips where his hands are ready. He doesn't have to dip too far, catches the ball squared up, and releases the ball in sync. Really good form. Here he's going to come off a wide pin down read that his man is going under, flare out a little bit. Shot preparation is good again. By the time he catches it, his whole body is squared toward the rim, shoulders there as well, and rising up seamlessly. This is the big shot, of course, that Kentucky needed late in the game against Michigan, where the offense is kind of stifled by the Michigan zone and a lot of late clock possessions, and they need someone to step up, and obviously Cason is able to hit it. But you see the shot prep again. Hands ready, feet ready to pivot toward the basket. Because he's ready to catch this ball, he can go from catch to shot so fluidly. And this is why a lot of freshmen have trouble adjusting to the speed of the college game from high school. But for Cason, that's not the case, where he's able to catch this. He's able to catch this right when the ball hits his hands. He's into his shooting motion. Doesn't need to go into a crazy dip because he's dipping with the ball as the ball's getting to him. So really impressive stuff as an off-ball shooter. Where I have my questions with him offensively is when he is put into more of an on-ball and creator role. I'm not sure how I feel about him, being a lead guard, which is totally fine because I think he can certainly do it at times. When Severe Wheeler is throwing turnovers or in foul trouble, Cason comes in and does make some really good reads, but I'm not sure if he has NBA level burst or change of direction. I think his change of direction is a bit slow. Obviously, you can see that here, where there's not really much going for him after that crossover. Takes him a bit to get around and be able to pivot and get into his drive. Certainly slow by NBA standards. So I'm not totally sure how he projects on the ball at the next level. We can get into another clip here where this obviously is going to just need to be a shot. And of course, I think it will be as his shot confidence goes up. I think right now he's shooting 50% from three on the year. I think he's still getting comfortable with the volume, but you see that handle isn't necessarily tight. The change of direction is a bit slow. And obviously Doug McDaniel's a good on-ball defender, so you're probably going to have trouble with him because he does get into the body and he's physical as a smaller guard. But I still think there's areas to polish up with him if he's going to be an on-ball guy. Where I really like him is off the ball as a connector piece, because the ball hits its hands and the ball's out of his hands in no time. He is so aware of where his guys are. Obviously the plan in transition for Kentucky is find shooters, find Antonio Reeves, find CJ Frederick for spot up opportunities. And Cason, ball hits his hands, ball's out of his hands so quickly. He's not a ball stopper by any means. I think his connective ability gels really well in the NBA. So I think alongside somebody that is a primary creator, really good in those areas, could make him such a special add to a team, because he is going to move the ball. He's going to connect guys. He's going to attack closeouts. Where I think he's really good is attacking when he already has an advantage presented to him, where he already has momentum. So here he's going to already have some type of step on the defender, which the defender is attached, but what he does well is decelerate, and I think his touch is pretty good too. I think Bart Borovic tracks him at nearly 80% around the rim. I think Synergy has him around 70%, but nonetheless, he's really good around the rim with his touch. I really like this possession. Cason's going to come off a wide pin down again. He's going to curl this time. Maybe you curl a little tighter, but he's going to get into the middle of the paint and then make a last second decision to lob it up to his big man. What's really cool about this though is notice the strength and then notice the technique to cuff the ball and keep it away from the nail defender digging at him. He's gonna keep Jet Howard on his hip, and Jet's gonna give him a little bit of a bump, but Cason's so good with his body control. And you see the nail defender digging hard, Cason cuffs the ball into his chest, Jet gives him a little bump, but he's so strong in that lower body that he's able to stay on balance. When you have such a strong vertical athlete like this in Jacob Toppin, you can just lob it up. What's really interesting though too is that he almost makes this look like a floater, and that like last second deception is really important for NBA guards against the NBA trees that are just so good at protecting the rim. So good manipulation, good body control, and then obviously great decision. So yeah, Cason Wallace, really nice game today against Michigan. Please let me know your thoughts on these videos. I'm still very far from understanding the game at a high level. And as I mentioned, I'm using these videos to kind of document where I'm at with like prospect evaluation and understanding X's and O's and stuff. So if I said something completely wrong or you disagree with something, please let me know, because I am just trying to learn it. I think prospect evaluation is really cool. I'm not very good at it yet, but so if you see something that I'm not seeing or am wrong, please tell me. I would love to learn. But nonetheless, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate the support. Thanks, and have a great day.